Hi everyone, welcome back to Life After Neverland. My name is Karin and today we are talking about Group B finals of The Masked Singer Season 5. Thanks so much for tuning in today. I'm at my mother-in-law's house. Before we get started, first of all, I want to say we're going to be talking about this Wednesday and some of the different choices that were made. I looked online and people are not very happy with the way things went down, and I understand why. So we're going to talk about that in just a little bit. But before we do, of course, I always want to ask if you have it in your heart and soul to subscribe to our channel. Of course, we would be grateful. We really would. We'd love to have you around. So stick around. Hang out with us here in Life After Neverland. Okay, so the very first thing we want to talk about is who got eliminated. We're going to do that at the end. And then the decision that was made in regards to the person that got eliminated, we're going to talk about that too at the end. So just stay tuned, and I'm going to keep this short today. Okay, so the first contestant I want to talk about is the Black Swan. Now, last week we said that we think that the Black Swan is JoJo, and I'm sticking to that. I think that the Black Swan is definitely JoJo. I'm not going to move from that until I'm convinced otherwise. And so here are some things that I found online that would connect JoJo to the Black Swan. In the first clue package, the number 5 was highlighted, and that number 5 was highlighted on a watch. Okay, and then on the second clue, there was a nickel that was worth 5 cents. So how does that connect to JoJo? Let me tell you how. Okay, JoJo has recorded 5 albums, and then her sales total 5 million, and then she was once, we talked about this in our last video, she was once the opening act for Fifth Harmony. Now, there was a nickel and a penny, and I showed that in our last video as well, and it totals 6 cents. Does JoJo have a 6th sense? That I have no idea. However, how old JoJo was when she began her professional career was 6 years old. So I think those are pretty darn awesome clues. Here's one more that I roped in here for you. In the last package that they had last week, she kind of indicated that she had a rift with someone and it caused a tremendous amount of turmoil in her relationship with them. And I did find out that when she was 18, she replaced her mom as her manager. And I did feel like it had a mom vibe, you know, trauma to it. Okay, so that's the JoJo sitch connected to the Black Swan. Now we're going to talk about the Piglet. I said last week that I feel like the Piglet is Nick Lachey, and one of the things that just fascinates me is that the judges, I don't believe, have mentioned Nick Lachey's name yet. Please correct me if I'm wrong, and maybe I have short-term memory loss, I'm not sure, but I don't think that they've mentioned Nick Lachey yet, which is so crazy to me, because it sounds exactly like Nick Lachey. And I also have some clues that would connect the Piglet to Nick Lachey. But before we get started about talking about how the Piglet is connected to Nick Lachey, here are some of the guesses from the judges. And I want to know if you think I'm wrong. Challenge me with it. I want to know. And do you agree with any of the judges? So they have mentioned JC from NSYNC, which I could maybe get on board with that. I actually could. Jonathan Knight, I do not think so. And I was a very avid New Kids on the Block fan when I was 15 years old. Like, big time. In fact, Donnie Wahlberg was my new kid, okay, that I was in love with. Huge Donnie Wahlberg fan, like massive Donnie Wahlberg fan. So no, it doesn't sound like John Knight. The other one is Jordan Knight. No, doesn't sound like Jordan Knight at all, because Jordan Knight hits high pitches, and unless he's hiding it, that does not sound like Jordan Knight. Now, if it ends up being one of the new kids, I will be blown away. Okay, so I'd like to know if you think that it's any of those people. JC, John Knight, Jordan Knight. I think it's Nick Lachey. I keep saying it, and I'm going to keep saying it. Okay. I would love to know in the comment section down below. But here's how I think it's Nick Lachey. Okay, so I do think that Nick Lachey, when I used to watch the Newlyweds with him and Jessica, that he was really big into football. And he also played football in high school. So that was in one of his packages. There was a game scoreboard that read 11-3. And the numbers tied to Nick. He was married to Vanessa in 2011, and they have 3 children. So maybe that's a possibility, you guys. Baseball is another passion of Nick's. Now, I don't know a lot about baseball, so I found this online. I'm just going to read it to you. So it says that he has stake in the Tacoma Rainiers. I know I just totally said that wrong. And I also wrote this down while I was watching the show. But it's the farm team for the Seattle Mariners. I totally tortured that. But anyways, yeah. That might be a thing. Oh, and then he's not so lucky in love, but he's a romantic. And I think that Nick Lachey is definitely a romantic. If you ever watched The Newlywed show. I call it the Newlywed Show. It was called Newlyweds. I can't even remember, which is really sad because Shawn and I watched that diligently when we were dating and in the beginnings of our marriage. And we just loved Nick and Jessica so much. But I always felt like Nick was very romantic with Jessica, and I felt like he always did really sweet and loving things for her, and I feel like she never ever really appreciated it. At least that's how it appeared on the show. And then, yeah, so that sounds like Nick. Do you guys have any other guesses? Let's move on. I love the piglet so much. I do. And I love Nick Lachey. So the next one is the crab. The crab is really fascinating to me. The crab was the wild card last week. Some of you guys mentioned that you thought it probably was Bobby Brown, which was one of the guesses, I think, last week, or at least one of the ones I threw out there. And many people online believe that it truly is Bobby Brown. And when I go back and I listen to Bobby Brown's old videos, I get excited. Like, I can't stop taking my eyes off of it. But I totally forgot how amazing Bobby Brown actually was back in the day with My Prerogative and when he was in New Edition. I mean, he was just amazing. Every little step I take. Oh my gosh, I miss Bobby Brown. And I would really like to see him again. Can you make that happen, Masked Singer? They just might. What was interesting in this episode, this past Wednesday, was that he actually was having a hard time breathing and it felt like he was going to have a panic attack, which was wild and crazy. I've said before in my episodes, if you've watched, that my husband and I used to work at Disney, and dancing, performing, entertaining in a costume like that is really challenging. It really actually truly is. And much kudos to him. Yeah, that was a little bit scary. But here are some things that might tie the crab to Bobby Brown. He said blessings come his way, but then tragedy soon follows. Now, did you know, I'm sure you know, that he lost Whitney Houston, who was his wife. He also lost his daughter, Bobby Christina Brown. And then as of recently, I believe it was 2020, his son died of a drug overdose. And I believe he has his namesake. His son does. So he has had quite a lot of tragedy. And then there was a Mona Lisa. And so I went online and I was trying to figure out what the heck does this Mona Lisa mean? And I found out it says that painting by Leonardo da Vinci just happens to be the name of Brown's 5th solo album. Did you guys know that? There was a calculator with an equation, 2 + 3, which could be a reference to the makeup of New Edition. So those are some ideas that might connect you guys to Bobby Brown. And those of you that made comments in the comments section thinking that you might agree with the Bobby Brown idea, well, there you have it. I also found out online, though, really quick in regards to Bobby Brown, I wrote this in my notes, photos of former contestants, the bee, which was Gladys Knight, and the butterfly, which was Michelle Williams. Well, Brown has worked with both of those artists. On a side note. And also, one of you guys also mentioned in the comment section about Janet Jackson, and he truly has mentioned in the past that he had a crush on Janet Jackson. So, yeah, I think we nailed that one, guys. I think we nailed it. It's Bobby Brown. I think this is going to be good for him. In all honesty, I think that this show has proven in the past that it has done a lot for people. I mean, look at Michelle Williams. You think of her just in general. You know, she was very moved by being a part of the show, as many other contestants have. So that moves us to the Chameleon. Now, last week I did not like the Chameleon's performance, and this week it was better. The dancers had stars on their faces. They were dancing hip hop. It was cool. I really liked the performance. That genre is not my genre, but I do feel like the lyrics and the way that they were presented is not something that's easy to portray. So I personally thought the Chameleon did a really good job. And I'm going to go with my guess from last week that I think it's Wiz Khalifa. I don't follow Wiz Khalifa, so I had to do some research online, and I'll tell you maybe a couple more things that I found out from last week that might connect it to Wiz. First of all, I thought it was cool that Robin, he's like, I know that voice. I'm very confident in my choice of that voice, and he said that it was Wiz Khalifa too, which I think was the first time they had mentioned his name, maybe? Maybe they mentioned it last week, but usually Robin's pretty dead on. I mean, he's pretty good with his guesses, as well as Jenny. He was raised in Pittsburgh, I found out, and that was referenced in week 2 and week 4. His parents were mentioned in the clues, and last week we talked about how he had mentioned his dad in the camouflage, I believe it was, and remember his dad was in the army at one point, but he also said something about peaches, and I found out that his mom goes by the nickname Peachy. So that's kind of cool. And then also one of the big messages in his prior package was that he lost someone that he genuinely loved. And also I feel like there was like rainbows and things like that. So I found out that he had a sister that was a transgender and she died in 2017. What do you guys think about that? That basically sums up Group B for you. But now we're going to talk about how things went down in the episode and also who went home. We had a wild card. The wild card was the Bulldog. The Bulldog's package was really cool and really fun. There was this really cool 80s and 90s style of dancing. It was very hip-hop-y, wild and out. Definitely reminded me of that. And yeah, the performance was cool. They sang, I can't remember, but was it a New Edition song? It was a New Edition song. And he sang kind of sounded like a little kid, but he was still really cute, really fun. And in all honesty, after the whole entire show was finished, that was my most favorite performance. It was actually my favorite performance. I liked the guy hip-hop dancers that he had with him, and I enjoyed the lollipops. The girls were dancing with lollipops in their hands. It was cute. The performance was great. I was smiling. I was having a lot of fun. The Black Swan I tend to really like gravitate towards, but the Bulldog was actually my favorite, like entertainment-wise and everything. Was his voice perfect? No, but he was a lot of fun. I think that the Chameleon for me fell a little flat, but maybe that's only simply because that genre of music is not my favorite. But when I look back and I think about how he performed, like the lyrics, I couldn't do that. So was the Bulldog truly the worst? I don't know about that. Who did you think was the worst entertainer? Okay, the Bulldog ended up going home, and the thing that stunk about the whole thing was that Niecy Nash stopped the show flat and said, guess what? I'm going to be the one to decide who's going home this week. I didn't like that, because then it ended up being that the Bulldog was Nick Cannon. Of all people, it was Nick Cannon. We all thought Nick Cannon was going to be one of the characters. And guess what? None of us, at least I didn't. Please let me know in the comment section down below. Did you think that the Bulldog was Nick Cannon at all? I was thrown for a loop with that one. I would have liked to see him stay for a little bit longer and then surprise me. It just seemed really orchestrated. It just felt like, okay, now I'm going to leave. So I'm going to make the Bulldog go home so I can leave and Nick can now take his spot as the host. It just felt weird. And I can see why people didn't like it. It just felt staged and unnatural, and I didn't like it. But because I actually thought Nick did a really good job. I thought he was really fun. He was a real light in this episode. I absolutely adored him. I really, really did. My husband doesn't like Nick Cannon because he likes Eminem, and I guess Nick Cannon has a beef with Eminem, and he's always making fun of Eminem. But I loved Nick Cannon in this episode, and now I like Nick Cannon a little bit more. Don't tell Shawn. Okay, so yeah, there you go. You have both of those in a nutshell. I'd love to know how you feel about this week's episode and who went home. Who was your favorite entertainer for this week, you guys? Please let me know. And if you have any guesses, of course, I'd love to hear about that. Please let me know what you feel in the comment section, because I would love to chit chat with you about it. I have a great time doing so. In the meantime, you guys have a blessed weekend. Much love to you all, and I'll see you next week. Bye.